Alright, yeah, it's Retro Gamer here. This is gonna be something a little different. Depending on the amount of views I get the next couple of days here on this video, uh, I might go ahead and talk a little more about the Tekken lore. This here, though, is a video all about my all-time favorite Tekken character, and possibly one of my most favorite Tekken characters in all of fiction, King. I was originally just going to go over King 1, but I'll also go over King 2 and Armor King. So, we start off with King 1. He was a orphan boy living on the streets, street fighting every night, until eventually he was injured so badly that he ended up at the steps of the church. He was taken in by the priest, and then afterwards, he turned to scripture, hanging up his fist forever. Until he eventually took up pro wrestling to start funding an orphanage of his own. And eventually, after years of training and dedication, he learned that the King of Iron Fist Tournament 1 was coming around. During his time pro wrestling, King 1 would meet with Armor King and would accidentally injure his eye mid-match. Now, in King's mind, this was a complete accident, but to Armor King, he took it personally. And from that day on, he saw him as a rival. During the first tournament, King placed third. During their match, during the tournament, Armor King and King fought hard, with King triumphing, and Armor King realizing, with the goals that King had in mind, they were far more wholesome than he could have expected. And with that, the two became friends, as well as training partners. With time, the two grew to gain a great respect for one another. This would lead to Armor King's training of King 2 later in life. With the end of the first King of Iron Fist tournament rolling around, as mentioned, King 1 did in fact place third, so he would have enough to start up his orphanage. Now, by the events of the King of Iron Fist Tournament 2, King as a whole would have an orphan die in his care, and out of guilt, he turned to the bottom of the bottle. This is where Armor King found him. From there, he helped King rise up once again from the ashes, like a phoenix, or in this case, a pro wrestling jaguar. That sentence was way too funny to me for way more reasons than I like to admit mentally. Phoenix with a jaguar's head? I will like it. Or just a really big, scary Lucha Libre wrestler with a jaguar's head, in this case. I like that even better. And as the second King of Iron Fist 2 tournament rolled around, King didn't do nearly as well, losing out relatively early. Now, during this time, between the King of Iron Fist Tournament 2 and 3, the original King would actually be murdered by the resurrected god of fighting, Ogre, or as I like to call him, Aztec Shrek. And then, during that time period, King 2, who was a boy that would practice alongside the original King, would take up pro wrestling. Now, he knew how to mimic the moves, but his style was not nearly as refined as his mentors. And Armor King noticed this. Armor King 1, keep in mind. And he would take King 2 under his wing. Both join with King 2 joining the King of Iron Fist Tournament 3. It's relatively unknown how well he did. But I would say, considering he wasn't quite as experienced, even with the tutelage of Armor King, I would say he probably did middling to going out relatively early. That's just a guess on my part based on his experience as a whole. And during that time period, after the King of Iron Fist Tournament 3, it would be revealed to King 2 that Armor King had a heart condition. And he could no longer wrestle. And then, before that, we jump to the events of King of Iron Fist Tournament 4, or Tekken 4. Where in which, during that time period, Craig Murdoch would get into a fist fight. He'll tie into the story later, I promise. He would get into a fist fight with King 2, or with Armor King 1. Armor King 1 would lose this fight. He would in fact be murdered in a bar brawl by Craig Murdoch, a Vale Tudo fighter. And King 2, upon hearing about this, actually arranged for Murdoch's release from prison, wanting vengeance. And at the King of Iron Fist Tournament 4, he would find that vengeance by beating Craig Murdoch into a coma. After the King of Iron Fist 4 tournament, King 2 would find him in his hospital, and he would pummel him, and he would plan on killing the man. However, upon seeing a picture of Murdoch's family there at his bedside, he would choose not to. I feel like this is at least partially because of seeing the man's family there in a picture, and realizing that despite the man that that Craig Murdoch was, perhaps it was at least partially to show he did have people that genuinely cared for him. And also partially because I think that Armor King was not a vengeful man, and King 2 realized this, and he wouldn't want that for his protege. And as we delve back into the King of Iron Fist Tournament series, we delve back into King of Iron Fist Tournament 5, or Tekken 5. And we would come up on King 2, seeing Craig Murdoch wearing the Armor King mask. He would be wearing it in his Vale Tudo matches. And he would taunt King 2. Who then met with Craig Murdoch at the King of Iron Fist Tournament 5 and would again beat him. But this time, instead of beating the man into a coma, he would instead befriend him and forgive him. The two would become tag team partners. And by the events of King of Iron Fist Tournament 6, a new Armor King would come forth, with King 2 and Craig Murdoch both not realizing quite who it was. Murdoch was quite confused by that point, and as well as was King 2, because he knew Armor King to be dead. As the events of the tournament play out, it's realized that by the end, this Armor King was actually the brother of the original Armor King, who wanted revenge against Murdoch. And that is where their clash at the King of Iron Fist Tournament 7 would take place, with the two coming to blows and beating each other so badly that they were both placed under the hospital scare. And with that, King 2 enters the King of Iron Fist Tournament 7 to not only pay for the bills of both of his friends, but also to help pay for the orphanage. I haven't played Tekken 8, so I'm not fully certain as to what exactly the lore for King is in that game. But eventually, after I do play it, after I do a little more research, I'll be able to delve more into that and possibly come back to this in a part 2. But for right now, though, I think that is where I'm going to end this video. Like I said, if this does well, I might post some more Tekken lore later. I'm pretty well versed in the Tekken video games. They are some of my favorite games of all time. And eventually I do plan on jumping into a Let's Play of Tekken 2. This will be rather shortly. Maybe Tekken 3. There's a high probability. Because I love playing as King. He is most definitely my most favorite character in the Tekken series. I hope you all enjoyed. Retro Gamer out.